Hi, this is Jeff at Mowers4u. Today I'm going to speak to you about recoil starters and specifically those on chainsaws. Now there are a number of brands of chainsaws, Stihl, Husqvarna, Homelight, Pulley, Echo, Tanaka. Many different brands, but you know what? It all comes down to a few basic parts. A starter's a pulley, a spring, a rope, a handle, and a housing. Basically it. We're going to show you today how to change the spring, the pulley, rope, how to put it all together, show you what happens when things really go wrong, and how to get out of that mess if the spring, lets loose on you, and basically how to tension a rope and all. And if you can do it on one, you could do it on any of them. And we're going to do a Pulley 2150 chainsaw today. Just as a quick note here, springs. Sometimes your starter spring could come in a housing like this one. This is for a Husqvarna plastic housing. It could come in a steel housing like this. Many times this one's a Stihl. Homelight will do the same thing for a lot of theirs. Other companies as well. Sometimes they have just a piece of wire holding them together. And in particular today, the one we're going to use for the Pulley comes with a plastic band around the outside, also in a really hard plastic shrink wrap, which makes it really nice and easy for us to ship to you. So with that in mind, let's pause the camera and we're going to get everything cleaned up here, and we're going to take it one step at a time. Okay, so now we're going to install the starter spring in this housing, and I'm going to show you a couple ways to do it. Show you the way I like to do it. One thing we need to look at here is the notch, which is right up in here. If you can see this, this is where the loop of the outer part of the spring needs to hook right around there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our spring. I'm going to move this for a second, and the spring, the way I like to do it is I like to grab it right up in here where that loop is, and I like to do it with a pair of needle nose pliers. I just grab it like this, make sure it's flush down, and I grab it so you have it. If you can see that between the needle nose pliers. Oops. See if you get a little bit of a better angle here. Something like that. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick it up. Nice, tight, firm grip on here, and just pick up that red plastic ring, and that ring will come right off. Don't cut the ring. Don't lose the ring. Don't throw it away, because if this spring's loose, you're going to want to try to get it back into that red ring. So we're going to slide this back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it right down over that hook spot. Goes right over. If you see that, I'm right down on there. Pick it up again. Goes right down on top of that. It's in perfectly. Put two fingers over your spring. Push down hard. Pull out your pliers. Pliers are out. Bring your other hand over it and then slowly release pressure so the spring comes out. And then you can push it down a little bit, kind of like that. Make sure it's seated well. And now your starter spring's in place, okay? So that part's pretty easy. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put the pulley on. And one thing we need to do for the pulleys, we're going to add a little bit of white lithium grease. We don't want any grease on the spring. We're just going to put it on the center hub here. So just a little bit on our finger. Just put it around the edges. Again, don't need it on the spring. Spring's going to get enough dirt and dust, and you don't need the grease to help it stick onto the spring. So a little dab of white grease all the way around there. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take our pulley. You can see the pulley notch right here. A little difficult to see that white, but that notch is where it's going to line up with the spring. So we're going to take our part where the spring is, slide that right over it, move it back and forth, make sure it's on there. If it's not on there, when you do this, you feel it, and then it just falls into place. Okay, so that takes care of the pulley. It's on there. The next thing before we do anything is we want to make sure that we lock that pulley in place. We're going to take our screw, the mounting screw. I'm going to get a little closer here. take our mounting screw. Now this is a new starter, so it hasn't been, no threads have been made in there yet, so it'll be a little bit different than yours if it's you're just doing a repair work because you've had a screw in there. This will be a little tight going in. And what you don't want to do is over tighten this. So we're going to just put this down. Again, it's hard going in because this is brand new. There's never been threads run through that center post. And if you use a screwdriver type like this instead of a socket or something, you're pretty sure that you won't over tighten it or snap that or strip it out. So we're in, and the next test is to make sure this moves freely. If you've tightened this down and your pulley doesn't move freely, something's wrong for sure. Either the spring's not totally seated. If you used an old pulley, the pulley might be warped. This is all brand new, but this should move freely. Shouldn't be any play in it. That should be it. Okay. So now the next thing is to get the rope on here, and in order to get the rope on, we're going to pre-tension the spring. Pulley's recommendation is that this is wound all the way tight, and then we back it off one full turn, and that's where the rope should be at full extension. So when your rope's pulled all the way out when you're starting this, you would have one more time that you could pull it around like manually if you twisted it. So it's full tension, you know, with one loop of preload. So this goes clockwise, and right here, again, we're going to zoom in a little bit. There's a little pin right in here, a little hard to see. And next to it there's a hole. And what we're going to do is we're going to pre-tension this, and when we do, the notch on the pulley, you can see here, that little notch, that notch in that hole next to the pin, you'll be able to put a, in this case I used a pin punch. So I have the pin punch in there, that locks it in place. So what we're going to do is, again, two hands. You're going to use one to hold it, one hand to twist it. I know it's a little difficult to see this, but we're going to keep winding this all the way around. Again, holding it with your thumb as you go. Keep turning it. And we're going to turn it all the way until it stops. So we keep twisting this, holding it with your thumb. It takes a little bit of pressure for sure to hold this in place. Got a lot of tension with that spring. Keep going till it stops. Okay, so right now we stopped. At this end here is our, this is where the rope's going to come in through here. And we see right here is the hole where the rope goes through the pulley. So we're going to come out one turn. We're going to back it off real nice and easy, keep our grip, okay? And when we do that, that spot where I was showing you before, right in here, where we have that notch and a hole, we're going to put our pin in here, pin punch. You could use a screwdriver, either way. Okay, so your pulley's under tension, it's locked in place, it's not going to go anywhere, and now you can put your rope in. Now in this one for pulling, Pulley's rope, 39 inches is what they recommend for most of their chainsaws. Most instruction sheets will tell you to feed the rope in through the housing first and up through the pulley. To me, it always seems to be easier to go in through this way. A little difficult to see, but push it through. You can pull it part way through like that. You have it, and then you could go right through the hole. Okay, you can see where I got it, and I'm going to pull it through. And now I got to tie off the pulley. I'm sorry, the rope. And in this case, the way you do this is a little bit different. You're not going to put a knot in it. Some starters, you know, they have you just put a knot on the end of it. They'll have maybe a little recess where that goes. Others have different, you know, ways to tie them off on a pulling. You're going to loop it around, and loop it around your pulley like this. Now I'm going to pull a little bit more out so I have something to work with. But we're going to loop it around. And it's going to go under the pulley, I'm sorry, under the rope this way, all the way around, and it loops back. I'm going to leave it here loose just so you can see. So let's get in here a little bit closer. And you can see it's loose right now. So the rope came up, it went all the way around this way, and then underneath the rope that came up and over, right over in here. Now that little hole is where our little locking screw that we have. We're going to put that on, and what that's going to do is that's going to hold this rope in place right there. So it's just with a 1/4 inch nut driver. We're going to put that on. Again, our rope's loose. We don't want it tight right now. You can see that. Oops, I'm sorry. Here, let's see. Gotta get that on there right. I'm trying to hold it and show you it's a little difficult. So right there, we're going to screw it down in place. There you go. Again, don't over tighten it. You're going into plastic. And now you can pull your rope out through. We'll pull our rope out through the top. Okay. And what you could do while you have it here, you can put your handle on here now while it's tensioned. Pretty easy again. You're going to go right through here, right through your handle. And now we're going to put just a little simple double knot. The way I do it is loop it one time like that. A nice loop, okay? Twist the loop once. And then twist it a second time. And then just push your rope right up in through that loop. And you're going to pull it tight. Again, I'll just show you that one more time. Just a double knot. Make a nice little loop. Hold it with your fingers. Twist it once. And then twist it a second time. Bend it around. And push that right through. And then you kind of just work your way up with your fingers here to get the loop up there. Usually you want, like maybe 1/2 inch on the end of that sticking out. That's it. Up into the handle, and if you don't want that to stick out, which we don't, kind of tuck it down in first, then pull your rope. Now that doesn't stick up in there. So now you're set. You're going to hold on to the rope a little bit, pull your pin out, and then slowly let it go in. You don't want it to go flying back in. And you're set. You've now fixed your starter, all ready to go. So we have it locked in place. This is a couple things to check before we're all done, right? You got it locked in place here. Make sure everything's there. Your rope's nice and tight around here. If for some chance something happened, it slipped maybe, and you don't have enough tension, you could use this little spot here. Just to show you, maybe you went too far and you want to loosen up the tension. Pull it out. Once again, just hold it in place and kind of pick that rope up a little bit. And right in those grooves, you could basically, this is going to be a little hard to see, you're going to walk it around backwards like that. You walk the rope around, pull it out, you relieve tension. And if you want to do the opposite, same kind of deal. You grab the rope, pick it up like that, you have your loop, and then take it. Let's see if I can get a better angle here so you can see on the camera. You're going to take it and you're going to walk it around like that. See how you do that? That would be two rotations, or one. Just how I sprung it there. If you need to bring it back, get more tension, just like that. And that's it. That's how we do it. One other thing that usually does happen, not usually, if you've done this a number of times, is the starter spring. If this spring comes out of this housing, which does happen, if this lets go on you, oh boy, what do, right? Some starters are nice, they're fairly flat, and you could basically take your end here, stick it in your starter housing, and kind of work it around one loop at a time. Not real easy, kind of difficult. What I've done when I've had this happen in the past, you could say the red piece that you saved, or whatever retainer you have, you could put it in a retainer, put it on your workbench, put put it in the retainer, and basically work this around, rotate it, and keep going, and you work your spring back into this. You got to hold it down with 2 fingers on there and use your other hand to rotate it around. That's one way to do it. It's probably the easiest way when you have a retainer like this. If you try to basically rewrap it by hand and put it back in that way, you know, wrap it all the way around and then try to stick it in here, a little difficult. You could do it. You have to wrap it a little tighter, grab it with the needle nose pliers like I did when I took it out, and then stick it back in here. You got to hold it down to get it to spring up. But those are the 2 ways to get it back in, or to get it back into your saw. So pretty much that covers how we do a simple repair on a recoil starter for a chainsaw. Remember, at Mowers4u, we're always here to help you fix your equipment. Thank you.